All right, we're live, and welcome, my crypto friends. It's a pleasure to see you today. We're here with NS James, the man, the legend, Nathan James himself. He's one of our all-star devs in the EOS community. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's the creator of Scatter. Today we're going to dig a little bit into Scatter, and then we've got some kind of cool, interesting breaking news. I've been following Nathan's Twitter account. There's all kinds of interesting stuff going on, so we'll get into that. But how you doing today, Nathan?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Like I was saying, another day in paradise.
Every day.
Every day. So Nathan is been a developer for a long time. I know that you do C++, C#, Scatter, or excuse me, Scala, Java, JavaScript. You've been doing it all. You're all over the place, and you are deep into EOS now. And I guess just a way to show how long you've been doing this development stuff is I saw somewhere online that you were building computers or built a computer at the age of 11. Can you tell us a little about that? How do you start doing that at 11 years old?
So we always had computer parts in my house. My mom was a network administrator for some, computer company back in 1996, 1995. And we always had computer parts lying around. And one day I came to her and I said, "Hey, show me how to build a computer." And we sat and we built, I think it was a Packard Bell or something like that, something old school. And then that was kind of my intro to computers. And then I sat behind my brother, watched him do, 3D Studio Max and all this kind of stuff. And it just kind of brought me into it.
Yeah, that's killer. That's like right when, because 94 was when the internet was kind of the breaking onto.
I caught that wave. IRC all the way, man. I downloaded so many wares. I can't even say. Probably going to jail one day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a killer time to be coming into the computer game.
Oh, for sure.
That's interesting. What do you think between the parallels between what you're seeing in crypto and blockchain right now and what that was like?
Very similar, man. Like if we look at the days of AOL and stuff like that, where you'd get like a little disc in your mail that allowed you to get onto the internet. I really feel that kind of experience with blockchain right now. It's a little hard for people, but hopefully we can bring it over to more and more people. I hope we don't have to send people, CD-ROMs.
If you're sending out Scatter DVDs, we're maybe we took a wrong turn along the way somewhere.
Seriously.
But, I remember that for sure. I remember that visceral sound of just the dial-up modem and the beeping and the
infernal sound. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so funny. Somebody
has to talk on the phone, so you have to drop the internet.
Yeah, man, that's good times. Well, that's cool because I was just experiencing that from a real outside perspective. I hit some of the very first chat rooms when I was a kid. I remember just getting kicked out of a chat room and the internet as a whole, basically, when I got kicked out of a chat room, it's like, you don't have internet anymore. It's like, oh,
it's true.
I explain that to my mom.
Man from some BBC or something.
Yeah. So, well, cool. That's a cool story. So, let's get into Scatter because that's why we're here. And then some of the cool stuff that's happening. Scatter is kind of my interpretation, and then you can kind of fill in the holes. But what we have now is a trust issue. So if I want to give my password to an internet site, let's say Facebook, then I'm trusting them on the back end to take care of that password. Now that's fine that I'm trusting them sometimes with a password, but like you say in your Steemit article, when that turns into a credit card, all of a sudden the incentives are different. It's going to take more trust. We're trusting them with our money. Now when we get to this next level where we're trusting them with our private keys.
With all of our money.
Now it's all of our money. Right. Now you're trusting them to not make you a homeless person, basically.
Right.
So
you should not get to that point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the general.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, so that's what you're doing with Scatter, basically, is black boxing our private keys so that we're still able to use our private keys and use them essentially as a password or access to all these places, but in a very secure way where we don't.
So I said this in some article that I wrote that I don't think I even released in the end, but it's like right now in crypto or in blockchain, it's like having a brand new house that you bought and you have one key. you're the only person who has that key to the door, and you're sleeping outside on a bench, right?
Yeah.
Because I might have even put this in the latest article on Steemit.
Yeah, you did say that. Yeah.
And it's like we all have these keys that we want to use because otherwise we can't use the blockchain. So we have to find this middle ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's a fantastic analogy, and so that's kind of what Scatter's doing, and it's a black box so that we can use our keys. And another analogy that I've seen you use is that it is analogous to Facebook. How if you're logged into Facebook and then you go to all these other apps on the internet, it'll say, "Do you want to log in with Facebook?" And you just click, "Yeah, log in with Facebook." And if you're logged in with Facebook, then it's going to log you in here with your Facebook. And that's the same way.
Except that with Scatter, it works on your local machine. So you don't actually have to ever touch a centralized server. If the centralized server goes offline, you can still log into the websites because they're not offline. So there is a lot of benefits to using something that's local to your machine.
Okay. And on top of just the full security.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Great. Okay. So Scatter, because there's so much information out there already, I'd like to kind of move from that into the RIDL token.
Right. Before that, though, I just want to say, because that's not really Scatter's primary focus.
Okay.
Its primary focus is just providing signatures to blockchain applications. Right.
Okay.
If you don't want to put your private key into a website, you want to just give them a signature saying that you have this key, in fact.
Okay. So that's a good point. So you're saying if you were, say you're shopping or something like that, then I've seen one of the applications is that, okay, you don't want to have to give them all this information about you. You want to basically choose what information that you're going to give them.
So you can give them a signature to give them money. And then you can also give them, personal information like first name, last name, email, shipping address, whatever, all in one click.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And moving on.
And was there anything else that kind of in the general overview of Scatter that you think is really important?
There's a bunch of other stuff on top of it, but that's the core functionality of Scatter.
Okay. Yeah, great. And like I said, there's 3 or 4 hours worth of interviews about Scatter itself. Yeah. So if anyone wants to dig in, I would watch, there's an EOS radio, EOS RAD radio, I think interview with you that's pretty substantial. And then there's also Dallas Rushing did an interview that's pretty substantial, and they dig into the details of all these different use cases for Scatter. And so if you want to know more, that information is definitely out there. So that's part of the reason that we're going to move on to some other things, is because it's been talked about out there. Yeah.
Ad nauseum.
Yeah. So with the RIDL token, I'm interested in that. Can you give a brief overview of how that is going to integrate?
Sure. So there's a couple reasons for the RIDL token. First, the RIDL token has no impact on being able to use Scatter. Scatter is free, first and foremost. You can use it to sign transactions without having to buy into this premium Scatter service, which is actually RIDL. What it does do is you can, on top of all of your key pairs and stuff, you have these identities which hold all of your first name, last name, personal information, and those identities have a name. When you first create an identity, it gets a randomized name, and you can buy into the Scatter RIDL system for nominal price, $15 per year, or something like that, and reserve an actual vanity name. And along with that, you also get the ability to have reputation assigned to this account. And it gives you access to some decentralized security, whitelist, blacklist of applications, so that let's say you reach a malicious website, let's say Bitfinex with a tiny dot under the I, it'll tell you, hey, this is a scam site, this isn't the real Bitfinex. You have been warned.
Oh, that's a great functionality. So it's going to, as acting as like a rating system or some sort of reputation system.
Right. Yeah. Both for apps and for users.
For both sides of the transaction. So if an app is malicious, then it's going to have a poor reputation. You're going to be notified of that when you arrive at the app. So it's going to cut out.
Or if a user is malicious, say they don't pay back their loans to a loaning site on time. So that's public. It's not public in the sense that it's tied to your name, but it's public as in the sense that it's tied to your RIDL account.
Okay.
Which is anonymized to a sense.
And so with the RIDL accounts and them being anonymized, we're going to have the opportunity to, and by the way, we can, like you said, get vanity names. You can get your own name. You can get a, some sort of other name. But we're going to have the option to, I can go out as Brandon Parker or as Happy Money Man, or as just, some account that maybe I don't want people to know exactly what financial transactions I'm doing.
Right. Let's say you go into some, black hole forum on the internet. You want to download some botting software. You don't actually want to be known as your personal name. You want to
That's interesting. So with the RIDL token, I know that they're going to be airdropped, and everyone's going to, and it's going to be done distributed evenly on an account-based, 50 tokens. If you sign up for your,
it's 40.
Oh, it's 40. Oh, okay. And then if you sign up for your address, if you get your own personalized name, then you're getting a bonus of another 50. Is that how it works?
So everybody who signs up now and in the future gets 10 RIDL tokens. I think it's 10.
Okay.
And that's just a way to keep pushing tokens into the system so that there's always tokens available for people to repute and get reputation with. And then if you reserve a name now before RIDL is live, then you do get another 50 tokens on top of that. So you amass 100 tokens together throughout everything.
Okay.
Which is the cap. You can't have more than 100.
Okay, which is so getting into a little bit of the tokenomics. If that's the cap, then then if you already have 100 and then you can't receive more reputation at that point.
Right.
You
can't receive any reputation. You will have to repute somebody in order to be able to even get reputation.
So you need to give out reputation and rate these apps that you're using before you're going to receive reputation alone.
Right. But the apps don't take part in that airdrop. Apps will always start with 0 tokens. So you will always be able to give new apps reputation.
Okay. So they need to start from the ground up basically and build the reputation. Okay? And that keeps the token velocity. I mean, you're encouraged to actually use the token, which it has a use case and a product and all of that wonderful stuff that the blockchain's been waiting for.
Then there will actually be an exchange, a special exchange just for RIDL. It's going to allow you to trade names. So when you trade a name, this is something that I'm not quite solid on yet, but it'll probably half the reputation that the name has, or maybe just completely drop it to 0. And then you can trade that name to somebody else for a price or whatever. And then also the tokens as well can be traded to, let's say an application is like, oh man, I really need, 20 tokens. I haven't been getting any tokens recently and I need to give somebody tokens. They can also go out and find a way to get those tokens. I won't say purchase.
Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting concept of the trading names, or there's going to be kind of like a CryptoKitties-esque market for these names that people can. Okay.
It should be stated though that these names do fall under certain legal restrictions based on a whole bunch of different factors, IP and trademark and stuff like that. If you're going to get Facebook as a name, you might get sued. No liability. That's all on you. It says it on the airdrop website.
Yeah. What's funny is that I signed up for my my vanity name, and when I did that, I tried Amazon. I was like, I wonder if I can get Amazon. It was already taken.
It was not available.
Yeah, someone is out there either sniping those names early or who knows what's going on. But we'll see how that pans out. But I
actually have Chuck Norris. I might send him an email with the private key. Just be like, here, dude. Here's your RIDL name.
That's advisable because you don't want him, karate chopping you.
Nope. Last person in the world that I want angry at me.
Yeah, he will show up in Israel.
He will.
And on a private jet and find you. Yeah.
Sure. You got my RIDL name?
Yeah, and that is when you've made it because it's become important to them at that point.
For sure. But it does become, if we're actually talking about that, it does become big when we start getting into celebrities and stuff like that. Because these names, they identify you uniquely. They are across all networks and all blockchains, right? Regardless of whether you're on Ethereum, regardless of whether you're on EOS, there's a special library specifically for RIDL, which wraps parts of EOS and the RIDL contract. And it will tell you who this name belongs to and allows you to fetch names and check if they exist and whatnot. And this provides a stamp similar to Twitter verification. right? So when we're talking about larger social figures such as artists or musicians or things like that, then that actually becomes important because they can go onto a brand new platform, a new Twitter, right? And instantly people know that this is the person that they're supposed to be following, right? This is the person they follow here, so this is the person they can follow here.
Yeah, it won't have to be the real Chuck Norris. It'll be
right.
That's a great concept. So that's actually leads me into a little bit of a question that I had is, so you sign up for your name and say your name, you have the Chuck Norris name. Now, is that what shows it as your username, or can you then change your username in your kind of identity that shows to everyone?
So I just put this online into Scatter today. Literally a couple hours ago. I uploaded a new scatter to the Chrome store, which turned on RIDL. It's been inside of Scatter for a while, but it's been turned off.
Yeah.
And I just turned it on, and it's connecting to the test node, and it's seeded with all of the public keys from the reservation contract on Ethereum.
Oh, cool.
And you can go into Scatter, and you can claim your name by importing the private key that you used to register or reserve that name with. And then it will switch your name on Scatter from this randomized name to the name that you had reserved. Then when you go log into any application, when the application pulls your identity again, because it pulls it automatically if you've signed in, it will get the new name.
Okay.
And then I'll have to go over some stuff with developers to see how we actually handle that name change within their own caches. Let's say they already have a database with your name. It's advised that they use the public key of that identity to register you and not the name. And then they can defer to the blockchain or wherever to get your current name. But yeah, you can change your name right now. I actually also just released a decentralized paint. So I don't know if you've seen our place on Reddit.
I saw your No, I haven't seen our place, but I saw your decentralized paint tweet.
Right.
So
right.
What's that all about? How's that working?
So lots of people are starting to put pixels on. You get a pixel every 5 minutes, and you can place it wherever you want, whatever color you want. This happened on Reddit. I think it was 2 April Fools ago, and it exploded. And they made this huge GIF of all of the transition of how it went.
Wow, how'd that turn out? Did they make a picture or?
It was incredible. It was beautiful. You know, people put on like old pixelized Zeldas, and they drew like huge rainbows across the thing. And when they made the GIF, you could see it all being created and all of these people working together. I thought that's perfect for the blockchain because we can actually replay this and make a GIF out of the replays, right? Wow. Since it's all just data. And with that, when you change your name in RIDL now, it uploads your pixel with your name.
Oh, very cool. How interesting. Okay. And so were they doing that? Was there kind of like a general plan? Like we're going to do we're going to draw a rainbow, and then people kind of knew that? Or were people looking at it and kind of just intuitively? I think it was
intuitive. Like if you, after this, go and look for that GIF, there's a large GIF of the whole entire process. And it kind of looks like people just, people took over zones. There was a flag over at the bottom left of the United States, on the bottom right was like Norway or something. And then they would make little things about Norway around this and little things about US around this. It's like it was like high school, right? Like,
that's great.
It was awesome.
They were probably private chatting and things like that, and like planning,
For sure.
Wow, how fun. Okay. I'm getting in on the scatter paint. That's fun.
There's quite a few people playing it right now. Not quite a few, but there's a few people playing it right now.
Okay, well I'm an artist now. I'm going for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Let me close Telegram. I'm getting you cut this. I'm just getting bombarded on Telegram right now.
Oh, no worries. It's
all right. There we go. Okay.
So a little or actually regarding RIDL, I'm working with a team called WEOS, and we're creating a relationship-focused communication platform called WeMail.
Right.
And so as far as RIDL goes and integrating into these apps, so login is kind of a straightforward use case for Scatter and RIDL, but what other what other ways would you see RIDL kind of fitting in with social apps? And then also it's going to be a reputation. So
Right.
what other ways do you see it fitting in with these social apps that are popping up?
So there's a couple things that you could actually do with RIDL. Right now, it's only the JavaScript wrapper only supports the identity stuff, so names and checking existence and stuff like that, and helping to authenticate users so that you know that this person who's authenticating with Scatter is actually authenticated on the blockchain,
Okay.
using fingerprints and stuff like that. And then there's also going to be the reputation stuff, which is going to be far more interesting for a lot of applications. So if we go back to that loaning, the loaning application, let's say you are on this loaning application and you build up a stature within this application. So you started off at, $100 is what you were able to loan. And then slowly over 6 months, you ended up getting to $1,000 or $10,000, and that's what they'll give you. And then that website gets hacked and goes down. Which sucks. And then you have to go, you built a business on this already by taking $10,000, paying it back, taking $10,000, paying it back. And then you have to go and find a new loaning application. That new loaning application, because the first loaning application was using RIDL and giving you tokens saying that you were a good Samaritan and you had, you paid back all of your loans on time, the new application can go and search through those reputes and see, okay, this guy paid back on time. We'll start him off, maybe not at 10,000, but we'll start him off at 4,000, 5,000. And when we get into social, we have a lot of that same kind of dynamic, because what actually happens in social? We like things, we dislike things, and you can pass that reputation through to the users.
Oh, okay.
So let's say we're talking about what's that website with the reviews on restaurants? Yelp?
Oh, Yelp, yeah.
Right. So you could pass that reputation down through the application into another user. And then you have this user-to-user reputation kind of thing. Like, oh, your restaurant is awesome. Your restaurant is shit.
Yeah.
And that's publicly visible.
And also it sounds like as the app user, as say I'm using Happy Money Man, that would be then I would maybe have this reputation through Scatter and RIDL, or through RIDL, that is on a Twitter-like app and on a Steam-like app. And so I have this reputation that's built across maybe 10 social media platforms, as opposed to it being
travels with you across blockchains.
And across blockchains. Wow.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're running on, you're running on the Twitter of EOS and you get all this reputation, and you go and join the Twitter of Ethereum, not that probably ever happened, but you would travel with your reputation. And when you sign up, if it's made integrated with RIDL, then you would instantly have a higher reputation on that platform.
Very cool. That that is going to be a big game changer, because there's platforms like Steemit that people have a lot of vested interest in that reputation they've built up, and they'd love the opportunity to go to a different platform or multiple platforms.
And that's kind of exactly the point, because we know that, okay, I say this a lot, blockchain is forever, but it's not. New blockchains will come out. This is the one part of the reason that Scatter now supports Ethereum, and we will support any other blockchain in the future that has the user base to qualify to be put into Scatter. Blockchains aren't forever. The data is forever. But the blockchain is subject to change. In 10 years, we might not be using EOS. We might be using whatever X, right? Just because it's better for us as users. And we have to be able to travel with the reputations that we've already built, because Steemit is a great example. Steemit is probably going to get rebuilt on EOS. It's very likely. It's even been said by Dan himself. So how do we transition over that reputation those people have already garnered on that site, which actually helps them make the money that is the reason that they're using Steemit, and transfer that over to an EOS equivalent or any other blockchain? Yeah,
and that's such a game changer as well, because a lot of what we run into on the web in the past is that it's easy to be a troll, or to not act how you would act in person, because it's there and gone, and there's no social accountability tied to it. Now all of a sudden, if my social accountability is tied across 10 different, 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 10 sites and it's tied against
They're more
blockchain.
wary.
Yeah, blockchains are going to come and go, but you know, whatever.
Along with that,
reputation, yeah.
So the reputations do degrade over time. So if you're given reputation 6 months ago, which was bad towards you, it will disappear at some point, because it's just like life. You know, I'm trying to model this after how we see each other in life. Things that I did in my childhood, I might not be proud of, but nobody else remembers.
Yeah, absolutely. So some things you want to be forgotten after a couple of years. Some things you want to
be forgotten. That's the whole GDPR thing, right? Is you have the right to be forgotten. And in life, we don't have that right. And I don't think that we should have that right until enough time has passed that we have had time to reflect on ourselves and see where we went wrong and why we put ourselves into that position. Sometimes life is just shit, but life gets better, and so should your reputation.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great take. I think that this higher level of modeling the blockchain and the incentives after our real life human interactions is bringing this humanness to the internet, which is part of the next level change. It's so beautiful to be a part of, and that's why I'm such a fan of EOS and Dan Larimer, and the philosophy behind what he's doing is because he's integrating us humans into you know, what's going on, and that's what you're talking about also. I think that's pretty cool, man. I like that.
I think it's super important because, you know, we do live on our phones now, and I have a young kid, and I don't want to see her like growing up like this.
Yeah.
And if she does, then I want her to at least have some humanity in it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's cool. So, so with RIDL, it sounds like it's mainly going to be a reputation type thing here. I mean, it's not meant to be bought and sold. This isn't some tradable token. It may be, some things maybe happen, but that's how it is. But this is really has a deep utility built into it, which is it's cool to see.
The only reason that it's tradable is due to necessity. Like if it wasn't necessary for somebody to have to buy tokens just so they won't be stale, then it would not even be supported in the system, because there's no real reason for it, right? The reputation itself is far more valuable than the tokens.
Yeah, you're just giving kind of a more token velocity, basically another avenue for the tokens to move, but definitely not the main avenue.
Exactly.
That's great. And then you mentioned it, but I just want to make sure that people heard it clearly, but Scatter is supported now on Ethereum, and it's the first multi-chain, multi-blockchain ever. So that is like, that's not something to just be kind of glossed over. By the way, we use Ethereum and we're going to accept all other blockchains. You are crushing it with that. I think that's, you know, that was like, I want people to realize that Scatter is being used on Ethereum. It's available now. Is that right? Yeah. So
it was added support about 2 weeks ago.
So yeah, you making history. That's
so if we actually touch on that, this creates some really interesting stuff that can happen. Let's say, for instance, I recently added a way to convert Ethereum keys into EOS keys using the same underlying data. So what's going to happen is, with this snapshot, for people who aren't registered with EOS, they're going to be assigned a key which was converted from their Ethereum key. Let's say they haven't registered, so they're going to use the key that they registered with Ethereum, or the key that they got those tokens with, and then they're going to convert that into an EOS key. And in Scatter, you can now put that private key that you maybe forgot to register but you still have into Scatter, and you can convert it to an EOS private key. So having multiple blockchain support adds that. It also adds the way for people to transition over their applications easily from Ethereum to EOS if they're having scalability problems, all within one little box.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So to kind of repeat what you said, block one is going to take these accounts that haven't made the transition, and they're going to transition the public Ethereum keys over to public EOS keys.
Right.
Now, what's the case where someone is going to transfer the keys themselves? How's that? What will that be the case? When will that be needed?
So right now, there's only been 33% of people who have registered.
Oh yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of these Ethereum addresses that we know are holding tokens, but they have yet to register an EOS public key.
Okay.
So what they're going to do is they're going to take that address, convert it to a Ethereum. They're going to convert it to Ethereum public key, kind of. They're going to get the public key off the chain. They're going to convert that public key into an EOS public key. And then in Scatter, you can convert the private key into an EOS private key and claim those tokens without actually having registered for the crowd sale.
Okay. Wow.
So it's kind of protection for the other 67% that haven't registered or whatever.
Those are the 67% that trusted someone like you were going to come along and solve the problem for them. That's great, man.
I have to give props to Sandwich and whoever he was possibly working with to figure out that solution. I didn't even know that was possible until they told me. The second I saw it was possible, I went ahead and put it into Scatter. And
Sandwich was a Telegram user or a dev, or who is that?
He's both.
Yeah.
They're not exclusive, right?
No.
He's one of the admins on the. He's more than just the admin, but he's one of the admins on the EOS Telegram channel.
Cool.
And he's also part of the Block One team, and he gave one of the speeches at the Hong Kong meetup when they first released Dawn 2 or Dawn 3 or whatever it was.
All right.
He's a really good guy.
Yeah. Well, Sandwich, I'm honorary bite in your honor, man. That's a nice move. So
it was definitely a nice move.
Yeah. That's big time. And another thing that I like about the where we're going in this direction is that this kind of working together, regardless of credit or regardless of anything like that.
For sure.
Such a wonderful example lately was
Vitalik and Dan.
Vitalik. That was wild. I read that and I was just like, the world is changing right now,
It's
right?
true. I brought butterflies to my stuff. I have stayed out of the blockchain world for so long because of that whole mentality of us versus them, and I don't like seeing that in life. I don't like seeing it online. And to see something like that just kind of, made my heart flutter.
Absolutely.
Like, this is where we are. I'm completely happy.
Yeah, Vitalik represented hard right there. I thought that was so cool because, especially because there's this unneeded and unnecessary, unwanted kind of like team choosing between ETH and EOS, and they're both just change. I mean, Dan and Vitalik are both changing the world, and the fact that as the leaders, they're saying, "Hey, like you guys that are just owning,
we can work together.
Yeah, like let's we're all." The crypto community is very small. There's just this little bit of us, and then we want to like split it into two parts and argue about EOS and ETH. Like, no, we're working.
I think about it this way: either you're on the blockchain team, or you're on the other team.
Exactly.
That's it. Those are the only teams.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was a pretty rad thing to see. And if you haven't read the exchange, it's pretty easy to find on the internet if you search for it. But Vitalik comes in and basically finds a flaw in the DPOS Byzantine fault tolerance finality, whatever it is, and hopefully I got that string of words right.
You actually got that right.
Yeah, my developer wife is rubbing off on me, but and then Dan steps up, looks into it. They have a real technical conversation, and then within a day, Dan has made a change, and Vitalik was right and helped EOS immensely. So, really, really cool thing to see. Really cool. So another kind of interesting thing is you're a gamer, which is cool. Have you played that pirate game by any chance? It's called like
Blackwater.
It's everyone's on a team on a pirate ship, and they're all like running the sails up and down and stuff. Yeah,
that game is fucking incredible, man.
Oh my god, that is.
The first day I found that, I must have played for like 4 days straight with no sleep.
Yeah, and it's multiplayer, and so you get in these battles where you just like can't give it up. You're like fought to a stalemate, and you're like chasing each other's ships across the ocean for like.
Dude, I am incredible at that game. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I'm so good at that game.
Oh my gosh! Oh, it's so brilliant. That game is so fun.
Oh my god, it is. It really. I need to play that now.
Oh, it's so fun. I had a guy. So I'll make it short, but we stole this guy's treasure, and we're like, oh, we got it. We go to the thing, and then they all go to this island, and then they sail their boat away, and they just ended off sailing, but they all hopped off the boat and hid on the island. And so we see their boat sail away, but little do we know they just shot their boat into the ocean. We're hiding. And come on,
because you got to get the booty.
Yeah, gotta get the booty. So we're carrying this treasure right up to drop it off, and then right in the back, boom, dead. Grab the treasure, they turn it in. It's like, oh my gosh, this game's too fun.
It's a great game. Funny thing about it, I saw that I went to go buy like some GoPro camera or something like that, and I saw it on this big screen in the store, and I was like, God, when I get home, fighting that game.
Yeah.
Just from seeing it, I knew that it would be fun. And then they put all of the voice chat in there, and then the captaining, and man, the game's a blast. Yeah,
so fun. So, on the note of games, that's kind of why I was bringing this up, is that it seems that this inventory is a great, like these things, these weapons or these items that are cherished in video games, are something that is a perfect example of something that the blockchain can be used for.
So there's SFEOS.
And what's that?
Something, I think it's SFEOS. There's a game that's going to be putting these items, these rare, like think of it like I think that it works like this. I haven't done my due diligence. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming. Let's say like Diablo 2 or Diablo 3. First off, Diablo 3, fuck you for taking out the auction store. You guys suck. But it's like random items that are have certain properties, and then they're going to be doing the same thing, but putting them on the blockchain, right? So they're proven to be yours, and everybody can see that they're yours. And I think that's a great use of the blockchain. Absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to open up this whole Ready Player One type of interaction with the real world and the virtual world, where things that you're actually holding in the virtual world are going to like have this crossover into the real world. It'll be interesting.
Have you ever seen a show? You've seen Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, of course.
Have you seen the I don't know if it's the prequel or the sequel?
I haven't.
So it's kind of starting into all of that about how they got to the ships and what those clones are. But it started out as this VR world where anybody could go in there and they could I love talking about this. Yeah. This is the next thing I'm going to do after Scatter.
Oh, cool. Okay, good.
Anybody can go in there and code their own world, right? And then people can join that world, and everybody's unique, and it's just perfect for blockchain. Mm-hmm. And I think that something like that will just change the world. Something where you can put on VR goggles and you can walk around this massively procedurally created world, which people have made. Mm-hmm. And there's no way to take it offline because it's on the blockchain. Having something like that would just change gaming forever. Yeah. And we're now at the position where we can do things like that.
Yeah, that's really true. There's one project I've been watching called Seek VR, and they're bringing like virtual reality like concerts and things like that to VR headsets. So say you want to go see Snoop Dogg or something.
Right.
You put on these VR goggles, and then it's not there yet, but right now it's pre-recorded stuff. But like down the road, what they want to do is you throw the goggles on anywhere in the world and you come to a live concert.
Right.
And then after that, the artists can do their own thing. They can say, I have 1,000 passes to come hang out backstage VR, and they just you hang out and talk and
whole new world,
chill with them. It's like, there's some next level. Yeah, man.
We won't even get into porn, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the most obvious use case. It's the one that pushes it forward.
Have you ever tried the real VR goggles, the Oculus or something like that?
I've tried Oculus. Yeah.
They put you through I don't know if we're not on TV, right? They put you through a mind fuck the first time that you put them on, because you start looking around and you're like, oh my God, this feels real. And if we start putting stuff like that, it goes even more than concerts. Like let's say you want to rent a hotel room in some place that you're going to go travel to. They could just give you a VR demo of the hotel room. You can see exactly what it's like. Right. Yeah. Or you want to go buy a house, they give you a VR demo of the house. There's all of this stuff that we can do. This isn't quite related to blockchain, but there's all this stuff that we can do, and we're pushing such advancements in technology right now that it's like nothing we've ever seen before. Yeah.
And I love traveling, and the idea of like this simplified version of traveling where you're like, I want to go see the pyramids.
Right.
We're going to take it 2 hours and sit on the couch and go actually walk through the pyramids. Yeah.
Not everybody, God, I don't have time to go traveling. I don't have anything to go traveling
Yeah,
right now, right?
yeah.
So like being able to do that and just put it on and zone out for a couple hours and see something real, that's massive.
Yeah, VR is that other realm that's almost as interesting as the blockchain, or just as interesting as the blockchain. There's a lot going on right now. It's
true.
Yeah, it's good times. It's really cool.
It is. Excites me.
Yeah, that's why like it was like you were saying. I said it was another day in paradise, and you said every day is a lovely day in paradise right now.
Every day.
So something I don't want to miss on is it's called Scatterlit, your web wallet.
This is a hard name. I struggled with this name. I started out with Scatlet, and I felt that was kind of shitty. No pun or no pun intended. So I'm sorry to make it, a little bit French on everybody and give it the Scatlet.
Yeah. It's got, when you say it, you have to say it correctly, and it has a nice flow to it. Yeah.
Right.
So that is going to be. Are there other web wallets at this point? I know when you released that, it was the only one. Has anything else popped up, or is this it?
So the story behind that is actually I released that web wallet because I saw that possibly there might not be one ready for launch, and I saw the fear in all of the Telegram groups that I'm in, and I'm in a lot of them, and everybody's talking about web wallet. Where can I get a wallet? What wallet can and I'm constantly telling people Scatter is not a wallet. You can't transfer funds with this. So now I can be like, okay, here's the wallet that goes with Scatter. You can transfer funds with it, and soon it'll connect to any network you want. It'll default to the main net, whatever that might be, and it's just to kind of give a little bit of reassurance to people that you will have at least one wallet come June that you can use to move funds around. Because I think that's so important. A lot of people are just holding because they like money. A lot of us are holding because of technology. I know that you're probably holding because of technology. I'm definitely holding because of technology. And but that's not all of us. There's a lot of just traders who want to make some money, and that's fine. That's great. But they need a way to do that.
Okay. Well, that's a good point, though. That does give a just kind of calms some of the fears out there, even if they maybe are rational. And kind of a lot
of the stuff that I've been doing lately, I'm working on a BP, or now that I have some time, I can start working on this BP portal with a bunch of other guys that have already started it. BP voting portal. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing is kind of just for the community right now, because Scatter, I'll have time to do that after June. But right now, it's really important that a lot of us focus on raising EOS, because there's going to be some stuff that we, the community, have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So the BP voting portal, I didn't think of that, but you're going to make something that's just simplified. How's that going to work? Right. Is it going to be just a list of the BPs and you vote, or is it going to have descriptions? Or
I can't really remember off the top of my head exactly the functionalities that it's going to include. There is a long list of functionalities that it's going to include, but we simmered it down to a smaller MVP just for launch so that we could get it off the ground within time.
Yeah.
But it's probably going to be something like that where you can see the location that they're from. You can see who they are, what their name is, how many votes they have already, blah, blah, blah. And then you can use Scatter to actually vote.
Nice. That's a great call. And with Scatter, I guess Scatter for voting is because it's going to be verifying these identities basically. So, and then it'll show how much they have in their account. But it seems like Scatter is also going to be useful for these. So Steemit is not account-based voting, but it's stake-based voting or stake-weighted voting, basically. How much money?
The same for EOS. You're not actually going to be voting with your identity. You're going to be voting with the account that was inside of the Genesis snapshot. Okay,
yeah. So it'll be okay. That makes sense. Okay.
It will be very similar to, similar to Steemit's voting.
Okay.
It's a little bit more elaborate.
Yeah. Speaking of kind of things that you're doing for the community, and I think we've hit most of, there's such a long list. We've hit like 10 of them, but
community hackathon, EOSIO tutorials. There's some more.
Something else is the Tulip conference. I know that you're speaking at the Tulip conference. It's just going to be June 7th and 8th in San Francisco. Yeah. There's going to be a huge EOS presence there. A bunch of highly influential blockchain advocates.
And I'm going to rap for MIA.
The rapper's going to be there. Yeah. I will be there.
Oh, excellent.
Talks. Yeah, I know. So I'll bring, my 10,000 people, I'm sure. But yeah, David Pacman, a lot of these people that, and you, of course, are going to be at the Tulip conference in San Francisco. Right. Again, that is June 7th and 8th. So that's
looking like it's going to be a hell of a good time.
Yes, that is going to be absolutely, that's going to be fantastic. It's always very cool to meet people that you've seen moving online for so long, and then meet them in person. And yeah, it's cool.
So I'm in Israel, and being so far from everything that's happening is it sucks because I don't get to meet any of these people that I talk to on a daily basis. I don't get to go out to London, meet David, for instance, or down to the East Coast to meet the EOS Go team, or down to the West Coast to meet SoCal team. And these are all people that I talk to quite frequently. And they're all going to, I get jealous. They're all going to all these meetups, and I see pictures of all of them together. I'm like,
yeah.
So it should be fun.
Yeah. What took you to Israel from, because you're from the States, and you've been in Israel now for 2 or 3 years or longer. I don't know how long.
My wife is Israeli. Oh, okay. I was born in Virginia, but my wife is Israeli, and her parents are here. And I don't have much family, but she has quite a lot of family. So we moved here when my daughter was born.
Yes, it takes a family to raise a daughter.
It does.
Yeah,
totally
cool,
does.
That's a good reason. It's a good reason. There was something that you mentioned in back a couple months ago, but it was there's these high level domain names like .com, .io, .org, .us, etc.
TLD.
It's called a TLD.
Yeah, top level domain.
Top level domain, yeah. There's not one yet for
.EOS.
You had mentioned that some people talked about contributions. Has anything on that happened? Has that moved forward at all?
It hasn't. Likely when the worker funds come online for EOS, I'll probably sneak one in there, which is going to be, it's about $100,000. And I'll sneak one in there, which is going to be $100,000 fund to purchase the ability for people to use .EOS. Okay. It doesn't really matter, but it'd be cool for us to have scatter.eos, or even though Scatter's multi-blockchain right now. Yeah. But, all these .eos domains.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of these names that are already taken that aren't blockchain specific. Like I'm sure, I haven't looked, but scatter.com is probably taken.
Oh man, I can't get scatter.com. I can't get scatter.io. I can't get scatter.app.
Yeah.
I actually recently changed. I'm trying to get away from the whole .eos or -EOS thing because Scatter is multi-blockchain now, and I should be transitioning away from that. So I replaced Scatter-EOS with Get Scatter.
Okay.
That was pretty much the only thing that I could get. I couldn't get Scatter app. I couldn't get anything, So.
Well, I mean, that's a good enough reason in itself, just as a delineation of, of these are blockchain apps, these are blockchain websites, these are
absolutely.
So
absolutely.
So that's a cool. Sounds like you have a plan, but I was going to suggest having a smart contract that basically paid out if we got to $100,000 and refunded if we didn't do it within a certain amount of time. But the fact that
I'm actually really waiting for somebody to make a crowdfunder. I have yet to see, excuse me, I have yet to see a single person make a crowdfunding application on EOS.
That's true. Weird. Yeah, there's a Hyperfundit that's on Steemit, and there is who is it?
Sure, there's one on Ethereum.
Yeah, and there's one on Ethereum that I was talking to the other day.
Blockchain is made for this.
Yeah, that would be huge. I'd love to tell you the name of this team if I can find it quick. Oh, Free Enigma.
That's very, very not related, unrelated.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No, I mean the name to what you're building. That's the name of the website?
That's the name of the project.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Like Kickstarter, that's a great name.
Yeah, Kickstarter is a great name, yeah. Free Enigma, I haven't looked deep enough into it to give you much, but they are some sort of they are a crowdfunding app. But yeah.
They need to work on their name. Yeah. Kickstarter, GoFundMe.
Very straightforward. Hyperfunded is very straightforward.
Hyperfunded, that's a good name too.
Yeah, Hyperfunded's a great name. They're just they operate on Steemit through votes and SBD donations, prizes, the same way that the Kickstarter works. It's
right.
cool. They're a cool team.
So when somebody makes something like that, we could also possibly put the TLD on
yeah,
that.
absolutely. There you go. Exactly. Let me check my thing here and see if I have anything wonderful that we're what do you have any kind of things that you'd like to touch on? I mean, we touched on Paint, we touched on your tool to transfer ETH tokens, we touched on the web wallet, we touched on the multi-blockchain for supporting ETH. We didn't even talk about Space Invaders, but
you know, there's a new Space Invaders that came out, and it's very cool.
Is it? I need to play that then.
I feel somewhat responsible or possibly helpful to them coming to that idea, but they did a damn good job. They put every action onto the blockchain, so not just high scores like Scatter did, every action, so that you could see that the latency inside of EOS is very minimal, right? We're talking about 500 milliseconds.
Wow.
So when you press left, you're actually pushing that to the blockchain.
So is there? Can you see a little like? Can you see the latency even, or is it so minimal?
A little bit.
Wow.
It's very minimal. It's not going to be, of course, like, you know, we're gamers. We expect like 43 ping, right?
Yeah.
It's not quite that, but also you shouldn't be doing that with a blockchain anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a demonstration of how fast this blockchain actually is. That's impressive.
Right. It was super. I was very impressed. I gave them my double thumbs up.
That's so cool. So at one point I held the 5th maybe high score in your version.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, what was the deal? I know that they all got erased. I'm not too
every time Dawn changes.
Oh,
a lot of things happen to the blocks, and you can't just replay from the last blockchain that you saved. You have to just wipe it and resync. So when a new Dawn, I just wiped the next ones when I did it today.
And I gotta get the top spot before someone does something.
Your video with you playing Space Invaders had me in stitches.
Yeah,
because that's how I feel when I play Space Invaders. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, for sure. Space Invader, it's like the perfect amount of just like constant tension, you know?
Right.
It's a good game.
I'm actually, so I don't know if you noticed, but I've been making a lot of games recently. The Paint is kind of a game, right? I think one of the next ones is either going to be a Twitter style thing, or it's going to be tanks. Oh. So have you seen the show Halt and Catch Fire?
I haven't.
They build a tank game there where, you know, 2 players play on the opposite side of the screen, and then you click space and it fires at the other player and you see who can kill who. And I think that we could probably do that on the blockchain with EOS. And that would be a very cool thing to do, so people can actually play against each other in something that's not chess or checkers or something slow like that. Yeah,
that's a cool idea. Yeah, tanks is kind of a classic 8-bit video game type of thing.
And then after that, I'll make Metal Slug. Right?
Yeah. When you make Metal Slug, then I got to quit my day job and I'll be playing blockchain video games all full time.
For sure. Or Doom.
Yeah. Oh man. They had Doom on a airline one time, and it was like the best of my life. Yeah, it was Virgin Airlines, and they have those little screens in the back, and they have like free video games. And like, oh, this is cool.
Leave it up to Branson, man.
Yeah, and there's Doom, and I was like, no way. Like, this is gonna be the fastest plane flight ever.
Was it the first Doom or
Doom 1? Yeah, the original.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was good times. And also, did Scatter get hacked? Or I mean, one of the developers at Scatter did get hacked. Hold on.
Oh, one of the Space Invaders.
Did the Space Invaders get manipulated by one of your?
So, I in the beginning. So, okay, this is actually leading to something important for developers. In the beginning, I made it so that anybody could send any score arbitrarily to the scoring contract for Space Invaders. And Michael Yates, we will never forget you, Michael Yates. he just logged into Kleos, like the command line for EOS, and he sent in just an arbitrary action to this contract and gave himself like some 360,000 score or something like that,
great.
Which is unfathomable. And so this brought to the concept one of the principles, the design principles that I've started trying to drill into people who are developing on EOS is that EOS supports double signing. You can have one key that signs from the user and one key that signs from your application, so that you can validate that something came from your front end because you're the only person who owns that key, right? So now, in order to send something to this Space Invaders contract, it has to be signed by the user who had the high score, and it has to be signed by the application itself, so the front end application. So you can no longer do hacky stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But
well,
no, Scatter did not get hacked.
Yeah, I wrote, when it came out of my mouth, I was like, I definitely worded that incorrectly. Hold on. Stop the tape. But yeah, that's funny. Well, that's good. That's another cool example of community involvement, and
Right.
And it's a cool reason for you to be tinkering and putting out games and things, is because there's always ways to find these possible vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the work that a lot of us are doing, like in the community right now, the developers, is really just building those principles. You know, we're kind of lending ourselves to the principles that people found out on Ethereum, like reentrance, which doesn't really affect EOS that much, but those kind of principles need to be rebuilt because the code is the same. Projects are just, programs are just programs, whether they're on EOS or whether they're on a desktop. You might have some limited functionalities, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing. What changes is our attention to security details and our attention to design principles which pertain to the blockchain, such as those kind of things. And, you know, it's just going to take a little bit for us to build up to that.
And all the little community projects you're doing and the games and all those things have a purpose for that reason, because it is that
right.
that kind of feeling out process.
Yeah.
That everyone's
like all of that is just me testing out Scatter's limitations so that I can broaden them and try to figure out some better stuff. Right now, I have this side project which I'm working on, you know, 30 minutes a day, which I can possibly find for it. It's called Wiretract.
Yes.
And it's just if anybody's ever played with, you know, Unreal Engine 4 or Unity, some plugins for Unity, where you can create contracts and code just by dragging nodes and doing stuff like that, so you don't actually have to know code. These kind of things will actually possibly be better than the code in the future, because it makes sure that coders can't do things that are wrong. Like underneath the mathematical functionality of that will be safe math. So you can't not use safe math, right?
Wow, yeah.
So having all these principles defined will help us to build things like that in the future. Whereas right now, if we go ahead and build something like that, we might possibly ruin the hundreds of contracts that are made with that kind of software. Right? Because we might have done something wrong, and then people are going to have to recompile all those. Thousands and thousands of people might lose millions and millions of dollars if something like that goes wrong. So it's very important for us to kind of set a foundation for things right now.
That that Wiretract is a really interesting concept. Do you think there's a time in the future where coding there'll be kind of a phase shift in coding, almost, where people are coding at a second level like you're talking about, and they won't maybe even know that
it's impossible. It's possible, but it's impossible to know, because, you know, if we look back that's what's happened in the past. If we look back 20 years, people were writing in assembly, and now people are writing on higher level languages, and the more we go on, people are writing in even higher level languages. Like Python is not C++, and C++ is not assembly. And then, or not even assembly, just basic or something like that. Fortran, right? So it could be. I know for a fact that people do like those kind of things. I also know that in Unreal Engine 4, for instance, people use both because they're both useful for different purposes. So that might become the norm in the future, where if you have something that you want to do with this blueprinting machine, then you do it easily. But if you find something that you can't do with that, something very specific and customized, then you would just bring some code into that included with it. So you do some of it in blueprints and then some of it in code.
Yeah, I guess almost how people can build websites today. Like I can get on and I can use Wix or something to build a website with the modules, but if there's something deeper I want to tinker with, I need
WordPress.
Or WordPress. Yeah, that's actually what I use. Yeah.
The cool thing about Wiretract will actually be is that it's blockchain agnostic, right? Okay. So you could just export to Ethereum, you could export to EOS, you could export to some other blockchain.
Yeah, then if people are doing something, they could test it on a lot of different blockchains and see which one has the best functionality for whatever they're doing. Yeah,
that's also an important thing right now. Is a lot of tools are being created for EOS, and with this hackathon that we're doing, there's going to be a tool only category. So one of the winners is going to be assured to be a tool, and I think that that's important for the community, because the tools are eventually what us developers need in order to make these things work. If we can't have like a good testing framework, then we're not going to have good tests, right? If we don't have a way to connect to the blockchain with WebSockets, then we're going to have to poll it, and then we're going to waste a lot of system resources. So there's a lot of things that we still have to build for any blockchain, but EOS right now, because it's just a baby being birthed, right? So we've got to give it some training wheels, and we got to give it a bottle.
And it needs to be hand delivered by NS James, and
if you don't pet it, it's gonna die.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the focus on tools at the hackathons is really cool, because it's forcing us to, or the developers to build that base layer, those things pay off so much more in the long term.
They do.
The next app is
the
next tool, even though it's not as cool.
It might not pay you literally, but they pay for everybody else.
Very cool. That's what's it called? Wiretract. I wanted to do Blockflow, but that's not available. Okay. Well, Wiretract, it looked cool. I looked at the kind of mock-up that you had on Twitter. So
my brain baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like I appreciate that you have your Twitter going, because I mean, since you started, how long have you been using it? Oh, you said you've just been using it more actively since you're developing, slowed down a little bit, but we're getting a lot of insight into how much is really going on. All these little projects, all these just cool ideas are popping up. So yeah, I'm watching your Twitter pretty closely. I think if you're not following Nathan's Twitter, it's advisable if you want to know what's going on in the blockchain community.
Get_scatter.
Get_scatter. So we got Get_scatter. We've got the Tulip conference in June 7th through 9th, I believe, in San Francisco. We've got your hackathon. When is that?
I can't give away the date right now.
Okay, the hackathon.
It's still shush.
The hackathon is hush hush, but that's on the board. We've got all kinds of community projects that have already been done, and some on the board, and that's it. I'm going to leave the link for. Where can people find you on the socials, or what's the best way? You think the Scatter Telegram?
Telegram is my most active, and then the Twitter. Telegram and Twitter. So I can't really handle much more than that. Yeah, I know. It's your Telegram is already going crazy on you. So yeah. So I'll leave the link for your Telegram in the notes. I'll leave the Tulip conference in the notes. I will leave your Twitter handle in the notes. That way people can get a hold of you however they want. I'm also going to put my project I'm working on, the WEOS and WEOS in the Telegram chat. We just have a community channel we just opened up, so I'm going to put that in the notes. And we are, now that people know where to find you, is there anything else that you want to tag on here? Anything you feel like we glossed over, or any other projects that you've got brewing besides the Scatter? Nothing else, man. Nothing else. I can't handle anymore. I know. I think people's brains are going to explode. That's why I wanted to get through the Scatter portion quick, because I know you have so much going on. There's so much. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love to do a follow-up at some point, maybe a month or so from now, and see what other crazy stuff you've got going on for the EOS community. And yeah, so cheers to you. And you can say your loving goodbye to the crypto community now, Mr. NS James. Goodbye. Quality. Cheers, my esteemed friends. Have a good one. The money is not the prime asset in life. Time is, and your time is just a